Imagine walking into a home on Diwali night where every surface seems to shimmer with golden light. Tiny oil lamps called Diyas flicker like earthbound stars, their warm glow dancing across marigold garlands and intricate rangoli patterns that seem to pulse with life. The air is thick with the sweet fragrance of jasmine and the gentle smoke of sandalwood incense. And there, at the heart of it all, sits a beautiful altar adorned with images of Goddess Lakshmi, her four hands blessing devotees with abundance, her lotus seat symbolizing purity rising from the muddy waters of worldly challenges. What you're witnessing isn't just decoration or tradition for tradition's sake. You're looking at one of humanity's most sophisticated technologies for rewiring the human brain toward prosperity, gratitude, and abundance. And here's what's fascinating. Modern neuroscience is finally catching up to what Hindu sages understood 5,000 years ago. Let me tell you about Priya, a software engineer living in San Francisco who discovered something remarkable about the ancient Lakshmi ritual that completely transformed not just her Diwali celebration, but her entire relationship with money, success, and happiness. Her story begins 3 years ago when she was struggling with what psychologists now call scarcity mindset. Despite earning a 6-figure salary, she constantly worried about money, felt ungrateful for what she had, and found herself trapped in cycles of stress spending followed by guilt and anxiety. Priya's grandmother, visiting from Mumbai, noticed her granddaughter's restlessness during their family's traditional Diwali preparations. "Beta," she said gently, using the affectionate term for child, "you clean the house so thoroughly for Lakshmi Ma. But what about cleaning the mind? What about preparing the heart to receive her blessings?" This question would prove to be the beginning of Priya's journey into understanding, something that brain researchers at Stanford University have been studying intensively: the neuroplasticity of gratitude, and how ancient rituals can literally rewire our neural pathways for greater well-being and success. But before we dive into what modern science reveals about these practices, let's understand who Lakshmi really is and why her worship during Diwali carries such profound significance in Hindu tradition. Lakshmi, whose name comes from the Sanskrit word lakshya, meaning goal or objective, is not simply a goddess of material wealth. She represents the divine feminine energy that governs all forms of abundance. Prosperity, yes, but also wisdom, courage, beauty, fertility, and spiritual wealth. In the ancient texts called Puranas, she is described as the eternal consort of Vishnu, the preserver aspect of the divine trinity. While Vishnu maintains cosmic order, Lakshmi provides the abundance necessary for all life to flourish. The stories tell us that Lakshmi emerged from the cosmic ocean during the great churning, called Samudra Manthan, when gods and demons worked together to extract the nectar of immortality. As the ocean was churned with Mount Mandara as the churning rod and the serpent Vasuki as the rope, many treasures emerged, but none more radiant than Lakshmi, seated on a 1,000-petaled lotus, being bathed by celestial elephants with pitchers of pure water. This image itself holds profound psychological wisdom. The lotus that she sits upon grows in muddy water, but emerges pristine and beautiful. A perfect metaphor for how abundance and beauty can arise from challenging circumstances. The elephants represent the mind's power when properly directed, and the water they pour symbolizes the continuous flow of blessings when we align ourselves with cosmic principles. During Diwali, the festival of lights that celebrates the victory of light over darkness, Lakshmi is especially honored because this is believed to be the night when she visits every home, blessing those who have prepared themselves to receive her grace. But here's what most people don't realize. The preparation isn't just about cleaning the house and lighting lamps. It's about creating specific neurological conditions that make abundance and gratitude more likely to manifest in our lives. Let's return to Priya's story, because her grandmother was about to teach her something that would bridge ancient wisdom with cutting-edge neuroscience. The real Lakshmi Puja, her grandmother explained, happens in 3 stages. First, we create sacred space. Second, we practice sacred seeing. Third, we engage in sacred gratitude. Each stage changes something in the mind and heart. The first stage, creating sacred space, involves the physical preparation that most people associate with Diwali. Cleaning the home thoroughly, decorating with lights and flowers, and setting up the altar. But what neuroscientist Dr. Sarah Lazar at Massachusetts General Hospital discovered in her groundbreaking research is that the act of mindfully preparing sacred space actually increases gray matter density in the hippocampus, the brain region associated with learning and memory. When Priya began approaching her Diwali preparations not as chores, but as meditation in motion, something shifted. As she swept and cleaned with full attention, focusing on each movement as an offering to the divine, she noticed her mind becoming calmer, more focused. What she didn't know was that this type of mindful movement activates the prefrontal cortex while simultaneously calming the amygdala, the brain's alarm system that triggers stress responses. The act of arranging flowers, creating rangoli patterns, and lighting diyas requires what psychologists call flow state, that magical zone where the mind becomes completely absorbed in present moment activity. Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's research shows that people who regularly experience flow states report higher levels of life satisfaction, creativity, and resilience. Ancient Hindu practice discovered this thousands of years before we had brain scanners to prove it. But the real magic happens in the second stage, sacred seeing. Traditional Lakshmi Puja involves gazing upon the image or murti of the goddess with complete devotion, a practice called darshan. The Sanskrit word darshan means both to see and to be seen by the divine. What appears to be simple idol worship is actually a sophisticated practice in neuroplasticity. Dr. Judson Brewer, neuroscientist and meditation researcher at Brown University, explains that focused visual attention on sacred imagery activates what he calls the default mode network of the brain in unique ways. Instead of the mind wandering into worry about the future or regret about the past, the typical default mode, sacred gazing anchors attention in present moment awareness, while simultaneously activating regions associated with compassion, gratitude, and interconnectedness. When Priya's grandmother taught her to gaze upon Lakshmi's image, she instructed her to notice specific details. The goddess's gentle smile that radiates boundless compassion, her hands in mudras of blessing and protection, the lotus petals beneath her feet, the golden coins flowing from her palm. "See how she looks at you, Beta," her grandmother whispered. "See the love in her eyes. Feel yourself being seen completely and accepted, totally." This practice of sacred seeing does something remarkable to the brain. Mirror neurons, discovered by Italian neuroscientist Giacomo Rizzolatti, fire not only when we perform an action, but also when we observe others performing that action. When we gaze upon images of divine compassion and abundance, our mirror neurons begin firing as if we ourselves embody those qualities. Brain imaging studies show that people who practice sacred gazing, whether upon Hindu deities, Buddhist icons, or Christian images, develop increased activity in areas associated with empathy, emotional regulation, and what researchers call positive affect. The ancient practice of darshan literally rewires the brain for greater happiness and resilience. But it's the third stage of traditional Lakshmi Puja that produces the most dramatic neurological changes: sacred gratitude. During the ritual, devotees offer flowers, fruits, sweets, and most importantly, words of appreciation to the goddess. They thank her not only for blessings already received, but also for blessings yet to come. This practice of anticipatory gratitude might seem like mere positive thinking, but neuroscientist Dr. Robert Emmons at UC Davis has discovered that gratitude practices produce measurable changes in brain structure and function. Regular gratitude practice increases activity in the hypothalamus, which regulates stress, and the ventral tegmental area, which produces dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward and motivation. People who maintain gratitude practices show improved sleep, stronger immune function, better relationships, and yes, greater financial success. Here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Emmons's research reveals that the most effective gratitude practices involve 3 specific elements that are built into traditional Lakshmi Puja. First, specificity, thanking for particular blessings rather than general abundance. Second, sensory engagement, involving sight, sound, smell, and touch in the gratitude practice. Third, community, expressing gratitude in the presence of others who amplify and witness the practice. Traditional Lakshmi Puja incorporates all 3 elements perfectly. Devotees offer specific flowers for specific blessings: marigolds for prosperity, jasmine for beauty, lotus for wisdom. The practice engages all the senses through visual beauty, chanted mantras, fragrant incense, tactile offerings, and sweet prasadam. And the ritual typically takes place with family members, creating collective intention and shared blessing. When Priya fully embraced this 3-stage practice, something remarkable happened. Not only did she feel more grateful and peaceful, but her relationship with money began shifting in practical ways. She started noticing opportunities she had previously missed, felt more confident in salary negotiations, made wiser investment decisions, and most surprisingly, began attracting unexpected sources of income. What was happening? Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's research on positive emotions provides insight. Her broaden and build theory demonstrates that positive emotions like gratitude literally broaden our perception, allowing us to notice more possibilities and resources in our environment. When we're stressed or fearful, our attention narrows to immediate threats, causing us to miss opportunities for growth and abundance. The traditional Lakshmi ritual creates what Fredrickson calls an upward spiral of positive emotions. Gratitude leads to increased awareness, which leads to better decisions, which leads to better outcomes, which leads to more reasons for gratitude. Ancient sages understood this psychological principle long before it was scientifically validated. But there's an even deeper layer to this practice that connects to cutting-edge research in quantum physics and consciousness studies. Dr. Dean Radin, senior scientist at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, has been studying what he calls intention effects, the ability of focused human consciousness to influence physical reality. His research suggests that collective intention practices, like group prayer or ritual, can produce measurable effects beyond what classical physics would predict. During Diwali, millions of people simultaneously focus their intention on abundance, gratitude, and divine blessing. From a consciousness research perspective, this massive collective intention may create what Radin calls coherent quantum fields that amplify individual intentions and increase the likelihood of synchronistic events. Whether you accept this more speculative science or not, the subjective experience reported by practitioners is remarkably consistent. People who fully engage in traditional Lakshmi Puja often report meaningful coincidences, unexpected opportunities, and a general sense that life is supporting their highest good. Let me share another story that illustrates this beautifully. Raj, a small business owner in Toronto, was struggling to keep his restaurant afloat during economic difficulties. Despite working 18-hour days, he was barely making ends meet. His mother suggested he revive the family tradition of elaborate Lakshmi Puja, which he had abandoned in his busy adult life. "Ma," he protested, "I don't have time for long pujas. I need to focus on practical solutions." His mother smiled with the patient wisdom that comes from decades of experience. "Beta, what if the puja is the practical solution? What if taking time to align your consciousness with abundance actually opens doors that struggle cannot?" Reluctantly, Raj agreed to participate in the family's Diwali celebration. As he helped his mother clean the house, arrange flowers, and prepare offerings, something began shifting in his mental state. The repetitive, meditative activities calmed his chronically stressed nervous system. The act of creating beauty for its own sake reminded him why he had become passionate about hospitality in the first place. During the actual puja, as he gazed upon Lakshmi's serene face and offered heartfelt gratitude for his restaurant, his family, his health, and even his challenges, Raj experienced what he later described as a perspective reset. Instead of seeing his situation as proof that he was failing, he began seeing it as an opportunity for growth and innovation. This shift in perspective, what psychologists call cognitive reframing, led to practical changes in how he approached his business. Instead of cutting costs out of fear, he invested in improving the customer experience. Instead of working alone, he reached out to other local business owners for collaboration. Instead of seeing competitors as threats, he began viewing them as potential partners. Within 6 months, Raj's restaurant had become one of the most popular spots in his neighborhood. Did the Lakshmi Puja magically solve his problems? Or did it create the psychological conditions necessary for him to solve them himself? Perhaps that's a false dichotomy. Perhaps magic and psychology are simply different languages describing the same phenomenon. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of Lakshmi worship: the understanding that abundance is not something we acquire from outside ourselves, but something we remember and embody from within. The Upanishads, ancient texts exploring the deepest philosophical insights of Hindu tradition, contain a beautiful prayer called the Purnamada mantra. That is whole. This is whole. From wholeness, wholeness emerges. When wholeness is taken from wholeness, wholeness still remains. This seemingly paradoxical statement points to a revolutionary understanding of abundance. True prosperity doesn't come from accumulating external things, but from recognizing the inherent completeness and abundance of existence itself. When we operate from this understanding, we naturally attract what we need, because we're no longer coming from lack and desperation. Modern psychology has rediscovered this ancient wisdom through research on what's called abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. People with abundance mindset believe there are enough resources and opportunities for everyone to succeed. They celebrate others' success, collaborate freely, and take calculated risks because they don't fear loss. People with scarcity mindset believe resources are limited, see others' success as threatening, hoard opportunities, and make decisions from fear. The interesting thing is that these mindsets become self-fulfilling prophecies. Abundance mindset creates behaviors that lead to actual abundance. Scarcity mindset creates behaviors that perpetuate scarcity. Traditional Lakshmi Puja is essentially a mindset-shifting technology. By spending time in contemplation of infinite divine abundance, by offering gratitude for blessings already received, by creating beauty and sharing it with others, practitioners gradually embody abundance consciousness. But here's what's truly beautiful about this practice. It works regardless of your current financial situation. Some of the most generous, grateful, and truly prosperous people I've met have very little money. And some of the most fearful and grasping people I've encountered are quite wealthy in material terms. Lakshmi represents abundance in all its forms, not just money, but love, creativity, health, wisdom, beauty, and spiritual fulfillment. When we honor her fully, we invite all forms of prosperity into our lives. The neuroplasticity research supports this holistic understanding. Dr. Michael Merzenich, known as the father of neuroplasticity, explains that the brain is constantly rewiring itself based on our repeated thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Practices that cultivate gratitude, generosity, and positive expectation literally reshape neural pathways to support more of the same. This is why traditional Hindu festivals like Diwali were designed as annual resets for consciousness. By engaging in intensive practices of purification, beautification, gratitude, and celebration, people literally rewire their brains for greater happiness and success in the coming year. Let me share one more story that demonstrates the practical power of this ancient technology. Meera, a single mother working 2 jobs to support her children, felt overwhelmed and discouraged despite her heroic efforts. A friend invited her to participate in a community Diwali celebration, though Meera protested that she couldn't afford to contribute much to the festivities. "Just come," her friend insisted. Contribute your presence. That's enough. During the Lakshmi Puja, as Meera watched families offering elaborate displays of flowers, fruits, and sweets, she felt embarrassed about her simple offering of a single marigold flower. But as the ceremony progressed, something beautiful happened. The priest explained that Lakshmi doesn't measure the value of offerings by their material worth, but by the love and sincerity with which they're given. Even a single flower, offered with pure devotion, he said, is more precious to the divine than a mountain of gold, offered with ego or obligation. As Meera held her simple marigold and silently thanked Lakshmi for her children's health, her own strength, and even the challenges that had taught her resilience, she experienced what she later called the richest moment of my life. Despite having very little money, she felt genuinely abundant. This feeling of abundance led to changes in how Meera approached her life. She began seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, expressing gratitude instead of complaints, and radiating positive energy that attracted support from unexpected sources. Within a year, she had received a promotion, found a supportive community of friends, and created a life that felt truly prosperous, despite still being financially modest. This transformation illustrates what Sanskrit texts call Santosa, contentment that arises from gratitude for what is, combined with trust in the benevolent unfolding of what will be. Santosa is considered one of the fundamental practices for spiritual development because it creates the psychological foundation for all other forms of abundance. Dr. Sonia Lyubomirsky's research at UC Riverside shows that contentment and gratitude are among the strongest predictors of life satisfaction, even more than external circumstances like income or relationship status. People who cultivate these qualities report higher levels of happiness, regardless of their objective conditions. The ancient rishis or sages who developed the Lakshmi Puja understood this psychology intuitively. They created a practice that systematically cultivates the internal conditions necessary for both material and spiritual prosperity. But what about the timing? Why is Diwali considered the most auspicious time for Lakshmi worship? According to Hindu astronomy and astrology, Diwali falls on the new moon night in the month of Kartik, when cosmic energies are believed to be particularly supportive of new beginnings and spiritual practices. The absence of moonlight creates optimal conditions for the inner light of consciousness to shine more brightly. From a modern perspective, we might understand this in terms of circadian rhythms and seasonal psychology. The darker months of autumn and winter naturally draw human attention inward, making it an ideal time for introspection, gratitude practices, and intention setting. The act of lighting numerous lamps during the darkest night creates a powerful psychological symbol of hope, triumphing over despair, consciousness overcoming unconsciousness. Dr. Norman Rosenthal's research on seasonal affective disorder shows that light therapy can significantly improve mood and cognitive function during darker months. The traditional practice of lighting hundreds of oil lamps during Diwali serves as a form of community light therapy, lifting collective mood and energy. There's also fascinating research emerging about what scientists call chronobiology, the study of how biological processes are influenced by cyclical phenomena like lunar phases, seasonal changes, and daily rhythms. While the mechanisms aren't fully understood, Studies have found correlations between lunar phases and various biological processes, from sleep patterns to hospital admission rates, whether through measurable biological effects or purely psychological ones. Millions of people report that spiritual practices performed during traditional auspicious times feel more powerful and produce more lasting changes. This brings us to an essential question. How can we adapt these ancient practices for modern life while maintaining their transformative power? The key is understanding that the outer forms are vehicles for inner transformation. Whether you have an elaborate altar or a simple shelf, whether you use traditional Sanskrit mantras or heartfelt prayers in your own language, whether you follow every ritual detail or adapt the practice to your circumstances, what matters most is the sincerity of intention and the consistency of practice. Let me outline a practical modern approach to Lakshmi Puja that incorporates the neuroplasticity principles we've discussed. Begin with conscious preparation. Set aside time to clean and beautify your living space, not as drudgery, but as moving meditation. As you clean, imagine clearing away old patterns of scarcity, fear, and ingratitude. As you decorate, visualize welcoming abundance, joy, and appreciation into your life. Create a sacred focal point. This doesn't require expensive materials or perfect artistic skills. A simple image of Lakshmi, a beautiful flower, a candle or lamp, and perhaps a small bowl for offerings can serve perfectly. The key is choosing objects that inspire feelings of reverence, beauty, and gratitude. Practice sacred seeing. Spend at least 10 minutes gazing softly at your focal point while breathing deeply and relaxing your body. Notice details. Allow feelings of appreciation and wonder to arise naturally. If your mind wanders to worries or plans, gently return attention to the visual anchor. Engage in specific gratitude. Name particular blessings you've received, using all your senses to remember them vividly. Thank not only for obvious good things, but also for challenges that have strengthened you, setbacks that have redirected you toward better paths, and difficulties that have taught you compassion. Extend appreciation into the future. Thank for blessings you trust will come, opportunities that will unfold, growth that will occur. This practice of anticipatory gratitude programs your nervous system to notice and attract positive possibilities. Make concrete offerings. Place flowers, fruit, or other beautiful objects as symbols of your appreciation. If possible, prepare something special to share with others. Food, flowers, or acts of service. The act of giving activates the same brain circuits as receiving, creating a neurological experience of abundance. Include community when possible. Even if you practice alone, consider connecting with others who are engaging in similar practices. Share your experience, listen to others' stories, and participate in the collective field of positive intention. Close with commitment. End your practice by setting clear intentions for how you want to embody abundance consciousness in your daily life. Make specific commitments to gratitude practices, generous actions, or abundance mindset behaviors you'll maintain until your next formal practice. But here's what's crucial to understand. This isn't a one-time magical fix. Like any technology for personal transformation, The Lakshmi Puja tradition works through repetition and consistency. The ancient practice of daily devotion, weekly, more intensive practice, monthly community celebration, and annual festival cycles creates what neuroscientists call memory consolidation, the process by which temporary neural activation patterns become permanent structural changes. Think of it like building physical fitness. One workout doesn't create lasting strength, but consistent training gradually builds muscle memory and physical capacity. Similarly, one gratitude practice doesn't permanently rewire the brain for abundance, but regular practice creates lasting changes in neural architecture. This is why traditional Hindu practice emphasizes both daily devotion and seasonal celebrations. The daily practices maintain awareness and gradually shift consciousness, while the festival celebrations provide intensive experiences that accelerate transformation and renew commitment. The research on what psychologists call habit formation shows that it typically takes between 21 and 66 days of consistent practice for new behaviors to become automatic. This explains why traditional spiritual practices were designed as ongoing lifestyles rather than occasional techniques. As we prepare for this year's Diwali celebration, we have an opportunity to engage with this ancient technology for consciousness transformation. With both traditional reverence and modern understanding, we can honor the cultural wisdom of our ancestors while appreciating the scientific validation of their insights. Whether you're celebrating Diwali for the first time or the 50th, whether you come from Hindu tradition or are simply drawn to these universal principles of gratitude and abundance, you can participate in this collective practice of consciousness transformation. The beauty of the Lakshmi Puja tradition is that it works on multiple levels simultaneously. On the physical level, it creates beauty and brings families together. On the psychological level, it cultivates positive emotions and abundance mindset. On the neurological level, it rewires the brain for greater happiness and success. On the spiritual level, it connects us with the infinite source of all abundance and reminds us of our true nature as beings of light and love. As you light your Diyas this Diwali, remember that each flame represents not just the outer light that dispels darkness, but the inner light of consciousness that illuminates our highest possibilities. As you gaze upon Lakshmi's compassionate face, remember that you're looking at a reflection of your own divine nature. As you offer flowers and gratitude, remember that you're participating in a practice refined by thousands of generations of seekers who discovered that the secret to abundance lies not in grasping for more, but in appreciating what is and trusting in the generous unfolding of what will be. The ancient sages who created these practices understood something that modern neuroscience is just beginning to validate: that consciousness is not a helpless observer of reality, but an active participant in its creation. By consciously choosing thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that align with abundance, gratitude, and generosity, we literally reshape our brains and our experience of life. This Diwali, as millions of lights flicker across the world and millions of voices offer gratitude for the countless blessings of existence, you have the opportunity to participate in one of humanity's most beautiful and effective technologies for creating a more prosperous, peaceful, and fulfilling life. The goddess Lakshmi is waiting to bless you, not with external gifts that fade, but with the recognition of the infinite abundance that you already are and that flows through you to bless the world. All you need to do is prepare the space, open your heart, and receive the grace that is your birthright. May this Diwali bring you not just material prosperity, but the deeper wealth of contentment, gratitude, and connection to the inexhaustible source of all abundance. May your inner light shine so brightly that it illuminates not only your own path, but serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for all beings everywhere. The light of consciousness is eternal, abundant, and endlessly renewable. This is the ultimate teaching of Lakshmi. This is the ultimate gift of Diwali. This is the ultimate truth that transforms every aspect of life when it is truly understood and embodied. Welcome the goddess. Light the lamps, open your heart, and let the ancient technology of divine abundance work its magic in your modern life.